I thought that was a great scene. It taught me everything I know about lovemaking for the rest of my life. Picked up a few tricks.
You're still listening. This is our final transmission.
Oh, we're here, Sam.
Ooh, I'm here. You here?
I'm absolutely here. My name's Jamie. Your name's Sam. This podcast is named Final Transmission. Every week, Sam, me and you sit down and talk about a horror movie. Sometimes you understand them, sometimes you don't.
And sometimes I'm standing up. So variety's the spice of life, people.
Absolutely. And this week on the Final Transmission podcast, we are talking about one of my all-time favorite movies.
What? Fucking hell.
One of my top tens in the back end. I love this movie. Spoiler alert. The movie's from 1987, directed by Alan Parker, British director. Made Pink Floyd's The Wall and Midnight Express and a bunch of other cool stuff.
Did it Evita? This is all of this is mental already. Like, everything I know about this film is fucked.
It stars young-ish Mickey Rourke.
Yeah, youngish is right. I think. All right. Do you know how old he is in this?
I would put him at 29.
You're gonna put him at 29 in this? That's pretty fucking generous, bud. All right. Let's see. When was this?
87.
That means he was 35.
He looks so youthful.
He looks human. He looks like a human being, which is great. That's really nice to see.
I think
you haven't said what the movie's called yet.
I know. We're getting there.
We're getting there.
It also stars Robert De Niro.
Stars is strong, but yes, Robert De Niro is in this movie.
Yeah, we'll get into that. And also features Lisa Bonet of The Cosby Show.
Yeah. She's a full-on Cosby.
in a spectacular boobs out scenario.
Several boobs out scenarios. I have to say, I recognized her from High Fidelity before I knew that she was Denise Huxtable.
Yeah, fair dues.
And she's in Enemy of the State, which is one of my favorite, like, trash 90s thrillers. So, hats off to Lisa Bonet.
So, if you haven't figured it out yet, the movie is Angel Heart, based on a book by William Hjortsberg, something like that. I don't know.
William Hjortsberg. Is that what we're saying? I don't even know.
Yeah, he's got a vaguely Swedish name, so I put some vaguely Swedish spin on it.
You didn't want to go with Hjortsenberg and H. Hjortsberg.
Yeah, William H. Hjortsberg.
Put the jorts in Hjortsberg. This podcast brought to you by Red Scare Industries, where jorts are banned on stage.
Is that true?
Yeah, so it's the only Red Scare rule, no jorts on stage.
That means I am not allowed.
No. Well, guess the band that's breached that credo more than any other.
The Lawrence Arms.
No, I've seen all but one member of this band breach this credo together at once, 5 times a week, over and over and over, forever. It's your boys, Elway.
Elway. Yeah, that makes sense.
Serial jortsers.
Jorts is a state of mind, right? Because, like...
No, it's not. It's a garment that you wear.
But, like, I wouldn't call Daisy Dukes jorts.
I'd call that a state of mind.
They're jean shorts.
Ooh, yeah. They're tailored for purpose. They're made. Jorts are just... I'm a sweaty punk and I cut the legs off my trousers.
I think anything above the knee isn't jorts anymore.
Really?
Yeah, I think jorts are when they like sit on your fucking calves.
Wow, these are some serious subclauses. I can't get down with that. I think
me and Toby need to sit down.
If you're a dude wearing
jean
shorts, they're jorts. Yeah, it's pretty rich from Toby to have this fucking rule because he wears nothing but cargo shorts, which
carts.
Interesting politics at Red Scare Industries is what I'm getting at here. I've definitely worn jorts many times, never on stage. I don't think I've ever performed in shorts, to be totally honest.
I think I've never worn not jorts on stage.
But yeah, I think I've seen you play in trousers before, maybe once.
Yeah. I moved out of my jorts era, as the
Yeah,
kids would say,
yeah,
uh, relatively recently into my work pants
yeah.
era.
I'm seeing a lot of
Because
people transition to high waists and tucked in t-shirts, which makes me reg, to be frank.
I think it's a good look if you're not a belly man. But unfortunately, Sam, I'm a belly man.
I almost think it's better if you're a belly man because you can pull off a bit of that Pablo Escobar, swagger. But I'm seeing too many, like, just too many humans doing this, and it reeks of fashion to me, and I don't like it.
Too many humans, full stop.
Yeah, too many humans, definitely. Definitely. I will go to great lengths to get out of really comfortable clothing before I go on stage now that I think of it. Like, I'll be wearing nice, like, aerated sport shorts and, like, checkerboard Vans with no socks and a nice big baggy t-shirt like I am now. And I will deliberately put on, like, a shitty, sweat-soaked, threadbare black t-shirt, a pair of tight black jeans, a pair of socks, and a pair of lace-up shoes just to punish myself.
Yeah, we were on tour once and I had looked like a fucking dead dog for the entire tour. And then it was like go home day and I put on my normal clothes and you were like, what's happening?
Yeah, just extract those clean clothes from the bottom of the bag and the Ziploc bag, put them on and go home. It's like getting out of prison.
Literally is.
Speaking of getting out of prison, talk to me about Angel Heart. How did you first stumble upon this film?
I went through a big neo-noir phase in my...
Was it your personality?
It wasn't my personality.
Okay.
Not like... There have been a few things that I've made my personality over the years. The movie Stay Tuned was one. Basically informed my entire personality going into adulthood.
I'm only just learning about this phenomenon now that people can just take a movie and make it their personality. I think that's great.
Well, I think it's thin.
Okay.
But you can do it. People make, very horrible gore movies their entire personality, right? There are like thousands upon thousands of TikTokers who have just made talking about horrible films that nobody actually wants to watch their whole shtick.
Okay.
And I say to them, we love you. Promote the podcast on your TikTok. Thank you.
I salute them. Yes.
Yeah. No pejoratives here, guys.
None whatsoever. So you were going through a deep neo-noir dive and you stumbled upon an 87 Robert De Niro movie.
Well, I was going through a noir dive.
Yeah.
Reading a lot of Chandler and Mickey Spillane and all of that good stuff. I think what happened is, and you will relate to this, is I read Pulp by Charles Bukowski and was like, I dabbled in noir before that, and I was like, this is so on the nose, like spoofy pastiche that I feel like I need to understand more about what we're spoofy pastiching.
Yeah, Pulp is fascinating, right? It's such a huge departure from the rest of the Bukowski catalog in a lot of ways, and it's semi-psychedelic, it's kind of transcendentalist, it's pastiche, it's sort of full of like loving mockery, but it's got swagger, it's poetic, it's a really interesting book. Do you like it?
Yeah, I love it.
Hang for you? Yeah.
I think it's probably my favorite book. Not
book.
Not my favorite book, but my favorite book.
It's a really fucking interesting book. I've got a couple of really nice editions of it. I'm rereading War All the Time at the moment, which is a lot of 80s poetry. It's some of my favorite, Bukowski, one of my favorite eras, I think. Yeah. And it is making me think a lot about Pulp. There's a lot of stuff in there that feels like it's planting seeds for Pulp.
Yeah, I feel like the sentence, is it my eyes are blue, my shoes are old, and nobody loved me? Like, I think about that sentence all the fucking time.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's a fucking good book. I might reread that this summer. It's such an outsider art piece in the noir world. Do you know what I mean? I love it's it has this strange, it occupies a really weird space in noir, much like Angel Heart, I think.
Yeah, I think that they actually have quite a lot of stuff in common. Yeah. And that they use a noir type story to sort of tell something a bit different and strange, and to go off on an interesting tangent. Obviously, Pulp goes more intergalactic and sci-fi and psychedelic, whereas this moves into more of a sort of a voodoo and horror place.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'd read Pulp, and then so I started digging into noir, and I went through, I don't know, 30 or 40 of the best noir movies, and started moving towards like the modern stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, as a horror guy, I was always gonna like enjoy when noir meets horror.
Mm.
I also think around the time that I read Pulp, I'd also watched the Steve Martin movie Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid.
Yeah, what a classic.
I mean, I think it might not be good, but it's great.
I think it's really funny. I still love any Steve Martin slapstick, so I have very warm feelings about that movie. It cracks me up.
Yeah, I think, again, when I watched it, I didn't have the knowledge of where all of these out of context conversational scenes had come from.
Right.
And therefore it doesn't land the same if you've never seen Double Indemnity and everything else. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
So I went and watched all of those movies and everything else besides. And I think that's how I landed on Angel Heart. And I just think it's so clever. Obviously, we're not getting into any spoilers just yet.
Mm-hmm.
And presumably that's why you texted me asking for me to do the synopsis.
Listen, I had a few beers when I watched this movie because I've slipped into this complacent space where I don't expect any plot. And if there is a plot, I don't expect it to be complex. And it turns out I needed to be a little bit more switched on for this movie than I was. Not massively so. I think I maybe missed a few key details that made the plot difficult for me to unravel when the movie reached its fascinating crescendo.
Yeah, I think like the central mystery at the core of Angel Heart is the perfect like noir detective story mystery, in that it's like it's all about misdirection, and you can follow it and you can follow on the clues, but you never put it together before they do. And then when they put it together, you're like, fuck, that's so fucking obvious. How did I not figure that out?
100%.
And that's like perfect noir writing, I think. Perfect detective fiction.
Yeah, well, we'll dig into that a little bit because I have mixed feelings about that personally. But what I'd love right now is if you could tell us what the fuck this movie's about.
So, war veteran private detective Harry Angel, great name for a detective, is hired by a mysterious businessman to locate a missing crooner by the name of Johnny Favorite, who has welched on some kind of business deal with the mysterious businessman, played by Robert De Niro, with fucking gusto. And in the investigation into the whereabouts of Johnny Favorite, Harry Angel travels across New York and ultimately down to New Orleans, Louisiana, where he discovers blues and voodoo and all kinds of stuff involving chickens. And sex and violence and, you know, mayhem ensues.
There you go. Mayhem ensues.
Hijinks
you missed a great chance to say war veteran cum detective. Any opportunity to say cum.
Cum detective.
Is it any chance to say cum detective? You know, I'm somewhat of a cum detective myself.
Oh no, I just want coffee on my MacBook.
I'm a private dick. What can I say?
There you go. Perfect.
Let's get out of the way here. Mickey Rourke obviously underwent a significant physical transformation in his life at some point, you know, a little while after this movie. And I've always just had this thing in my head, like these people in Hollywood who have enormous amounts of plastic surgery, and even more so now, who get their teeth whitened to the point where they're luminescent, you know, like where the teeth look uncomfortable in their mouths, like they're made of like neon chalk. I'm wondering, like, who is around them saying, this is a good idea, bud? Like, when Mickey Rourke had all that surgery that turned his fucking head into, like, you know, when Lister gets space mumps, that's like Mickey Rourke's entire head at one point. There's got to be, like, an enormous amount of enabling around people who are like, you're going to look fucking sick with lips like fucking sausages. Get in there. You know, what is this shit? Why is this happening?
Mickey Rourke went a different way around because he quit acting to become a boxer.
Yeah, and I know he got completely smashed to fuck and then had loads of addiction issues and everything else, but like, not all of that is, you know, repairs, is it? A lot of that is.
Well, I think it's like you do a repair and then the repair doesn't quite look right, so you do an extra bit of work, and then in 6 jobs time you're fucking Leslie Ash. Do you know what I
I
mean?
just think if you're gonna be a boxer, you have to have this baseline understanding that your face is gonna get smashed to absolute shit, and you're gonna have to look that way. Like, why then make a
Yeah.
big plastic face to stick on top of your face? The guy was so absurdly handsome, like to the point of
He was. I think no man on film will ever be as sexually attractive to me as Mickey Rourke in Rumblefish.
yeah. I mean, he's fucking absolutely killer in that.
It's not just his looks though. It's his whole
thing.
Zen former Street Fighter shtick, which I
Yeah,
love.
well, there's one thing he's
But
always
yeah.
had going for him as well is his really subtle physical acting. I know we bang on about this, but I think a great actor brings so much of that, and he does so much, especially in this, being being the star of the movie. But in a lot of his films, where it's very subtle James Dean-esque facial stuff, but then there's also a lot of
Yeah.
really interesting physicality, body work. His running in this is absolutely hysterical. We got to talk a little bit about that, but
Yeah. And like his whole sort of Columbo shtick that he's doing in this, like his hunched shoulders, and it's like you almost believe that he's not the sexiest man that was alive in 1987. Well, I mean, I was alive in 1987, but I was 2, so I wasn't quite so sexy just yet.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a toughie for me to see people in their, looking so natural and so not just like physically attractive, not just on a shallow level, but able to do so much more as an actor, to be magnetic and to be interesting and to be exciting to watch because of this, this appearance that that just looks human and it's just quite real.
Yeah.
And now, I just feel like everybody looks like a fucking joke, a parody of like
Mickey Rourke especially.
Yeah, it's real hard to look at him in a lot of ways, and I love it when they turn that into a movie, like The Wrestler. He's one of my favorite films of all time. But
yeah, I feel like Mickey Rourke has had 2 roles in his life that have been absolutely made for him. One of them is Harry Angel in this movie, and the other one is Randy the Ram Rhodes. Is that his name?
the Ram, whatever.
It's Randy the Ram something, Rambowski, something like that.
Randy the Ram Job. He's I went to see that in the cinema maybe 5 times, and I think I probably cried every single time.
Yeah, but we watched it maybe 2 weeks ago because Kaz had never seen it. But yeah, I think this role in Angel Heart is so perfect for our man Mickey Rourke.
Yeah, if it wasn't for De Niro in this movie, I'd just call it a one-man show. Like it's the Mickey Rourke reel from start to finish. I don't really think, just getting ahead here, I don't really think he puts a foot wrong for the whole movie. I think he is absolutely perfect. The movie has its, rough edges, but he doesn't fuck up anything in this film.
The 2 sort of central real performances in this movie, the 2 top line performances are Mickey Rourke and Robert De Niro. Obviously, Robert De Niro is only in it for a few minutes, end to end, really. But like, both of their performances just hide so much just under the surface. Yeah. Like, Robert De Niro is constantly like appearing to be friendly, but you can feel just like a slightly thin veneer of gossamer between you and the fury that's just like bubbling under there.
And he does it kind of like a mobster, also like a vampire, also like the devil. Like, he's bringing so much evil from so many different places that you have this suspicion of some kind of, real ancient soul going on there, which is always menacing as fuck.
Right, I'm bored of not talking spoilers now, Sam. Let's take a break and come back and do some spoilers for the film Angel Heart.
All right, cool. See you in a minute.
Whoa, holy shit. I guess that's why they call it Phantom Power.
So anyway, back to fucking Rumblefish or whatever the fuck we're talking. Angel Heart. Let's spoil it. Robert De Niro is the devil.
He is the devil.
Yep.
And it's
I wasn't
great.
sure if he was going to be a vampire at first, but the nails made me think devil.
It's so, again, similar to the fact that like the mystery is so nailed on and obvious and you don't get it. And then obviously you get it when they say, oh yeah, he's the guy. Like, fucking Louis Cypher.
Yeah, I know. I didn't fucking
Like-
I didn't pick up on that in the slightest until it was
Like,
spoken
literally.
aloud in the movie. Oh my god. This is my problem here. Like, I'm sitting here thinking, how much of this is me being fucking dumb, a little bit buzzed, and, you know, kind of just letting this movie wash over me a little bit? How much of it is bad writing and you know, poorly executed plot points? And how much of it is some kind of fucking alchemy or like magic that is diverting me away from the most obvious telegraphed pieces of information imaginable? Louis Cypher. He's just saying Lucifer slowly. Like, what the fuck? How did I not see that? Hear that? Notice it? Like, wow. It's like branded straight into your face the moment he comes on
And then,
screen.
like, he's saying that, and he's got the nails
and a cane
and the
and a fucking
cane,
goatee.
and and he's eating the eggs and talking about how eggs are
He might as
people's
well
souls.
have fucking horns,
Like,
and we're all like, "Oh, this guy could be the devil."
but I don't think any of that is poorly executed plot points.
Not
or
that
bad
part,
writing.
no, not at
I
all.
think,
I think it's misdirection at its finest.
yeah, I think the whole movie does misdirection really, really well. There are all these incredibly quite long shots of like super close-ups of people doing things with their hands, or like stuff just sort of happening in the periphery. And like, this is all part of the misdirection. It's like, these are the movie's like, this is what you should be looking at. Look at the details, look at these tiny little things that are happening, so you miss when the big picture is happening right in front of you. It's like a magic trick. It's like literally sleight of hand. Well, not literally, but sleight of movie making. It's magic. I fucking love it.
The best trick it plays is, in my opinion, I don't know, tell me what you think, but there's several moments where you think you're really fucking clever because you're like, open the Bible, Mickey Rourke. Oh, you idiot, you didn't open the Bible and that's why he killed himself. And then you're like, there's something in that fucking vase, Mickey Rourke. Crack that vase. Oh, you didn't open the vase and look what happened. She fucking died. But you're being set up for that. That's like, you think you're so clever in the moment, and then at the end you're like, oh, fuck me. I'm not clever at all. That was the misdirection. That was the sleight of hand. Look at this. Now look at this. I think that's really clever.
And it's like, obviously it shows him touching like basically everything. So you never really think like, oh, he's handling the murder weapon.
Yeah.
Which he does. He interacts with the murder weapon on every single murder occasion.
Yeah, and you see him wipe stuff down once and then you don't again. And again, that's emotionally setting you up just to be more anxious and more worried for our guy. And there's so many things like loads of shots of fans, like really intense, close-up, lingering shots of fans that make you think, oh, what are they trying to tell me with this fan? I think they're just trying to tell you it's fucking hot.
Well, I think the fans only start moving when evil stuff is happening. So the fans represent, or the movement of the fans represent, the presence of our mate.
Okay,
Lou.
like in The Departed, all the X's are like, death is coming, that kind of thing. Yeah, I just thought like, okay, we're being drawn to look at these fans, these rotating objects. It's like hypnosis almost. Like we're being hypnotized away from what's really happening here. And it's just trying to really tell us it's fucking hot as hell. And then you're like, ooh, hell. Ooh, the devil. It makes you feel really dumb. It made me feel really dumb. At the end of it, I was like, God damn it.
Yeah.
A, what happened? Now I'm going to have to fucking read for 20 minutes about what happened in this film. And B, how did I get here? Like, how the fuck did this happen to me? I was supposed to be smarter than this. But no, turns out not.
Yeah, the fan stuff is cool as well, because it's just like, obviously, it's just a cool visual when you shine light into a dark room through a fan and start moving the fan very slowly. It just creates a cool visual.
It is a very noir visual as well, isn't it? Like, you know, lots of lighting tricks in noir movies stick with me as just being stylistically beautiful. There's always shadow cast by blinds. You know, there's always there's always these really interesting uses of shadow, because the color palette is usually fairly flat, right? We're usually dealing with lots of beiges and browns, and like Chinatown is a really great example of that, right? The colors in Chinatown are like, they alternate from being hyper saturated to really fucking beige. And what I liked about this movie is there was a lot of that beige, but because it's so hot, and obviously we're in this like Louisiana setting for a huge part of it, there's a lot of that, intensity of color that kind of juxtaposes with Mickey Rourke's like, brownness in the movie. So I think the color's really important in the film, but the way that it tricks you is all the more fucking alluring. Like it all just sucks you in really nicely. I did feel pretty immersed in this film. Did you say it's immersive?
I would absolutely say it's immersive. This is like the reason this is one of my favorite movies, I think, is because it's a fun place that I can spend a couple of hours in and feel sweaty and feel like that I'm being dripped on by the holes in the apartment ceiling, and like you really feel all of that stuff. Like in the sex scene when water just starts gushing into that room. Obviously that's a metaphor for sexy wetness, but like it makes me feel so icky before even the blood shows up. Just like,
but it's really clever how it goes from really sexy to really kind of scary. That scene is obviously played for, you know, some kind of real uncomfortable fear, but it goes from like the dripping on the head. It's not like a headboard, like on the rail along the top of the bed. It looks hot as hell, and then it's like, there's something happening here that's, I'm quite uncomfortable all of a sudden. Like it's a real smooth transition. And I thought that was a great scene. It taught me everything I know about lovemaking for the rest of my life. Picked up a few tricks.
yeah, it's so horrible and violent, but at the end of it, she seems to like it.
Well, listen, whether or not, I'm not going to go there, but where I will go is what brave fucking performance from both of them to do that scene and throw themselves so hard into it. Like Mickey Rourke is like writhing around like a fish out of water. Lisa Bonet is, you know, fucking so in that scene in every aspect of like the pain, the pleasure, everything in between. They almost look like they're acting separately and just having to like writhe around each other, almost like get out of each other's way. It's a really, really wild chunk of acting there. I think their chemistry is fucking fantastic for the whole film.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the film doesn't give you that sort of old boy style reveal that, you know, he's fucking his daughter.
Yeah, that's almost just like, and that's
like,
okay.
Because even he's like, oh yeah, she's my daughter. Like, so that's a bit weird to me. I think that's maybe my one issue is that he's never like, oh shit, I'm the guy, and oh shit, I also fucked my daughter, and oh shit, I killed all these people.
I think fucking your daughter is pretty like low down the list of oh shit moments when you find out you've just murdered a bunch of people, had your heart cut out, and you owe your soul to the devil. You're like, oh fuck, at least banging my daughter was hot for a minute. It's
come on,
Sam. In his shoes, dude. In his shoes, he's thinking, I got a whole lot of shit to deal with right now. Banging my daughter is low on the list.
Yeah. How do you feel about this? Is another thing that I have a bit of an issue with in this movie is the implication that Lisa Bonet has sex with the devil and the child is a little devil spawn.
Yeah, again, something I was like, why the fuck is the kid deviling me? What's happening here? And then at the end I was like, you dumb fuck. The kid is Robert De Niro's kid, who is the devil, who fucked Lisa Bonet as like a sexy devil ghost. Got it. It finally hit home.
In the when they're talking about that scene, she's talking about being fucked by
God. Yeah. Which you just think is part of a ritual of some kind, like some, you know, transcendental fucking crazy voodoo magic fun. Nope.
But it ain't.
No,
God.
it was Louis Cypher.
It was Louis Cypher. He's just a guy, just a businessman.
It wasn't
just an enigmatic businessman.
Mr. Gerald Odd, Mr. G Odd. It was Louis Cypher. I kind of love it. Like, there's not, you know, it's worth saying to our listeners now, if you haven't seen this, this isn't a straight up horror movie. Like, you probably find it in the horror section at TVO All Star Video, but the horror is kind of spatulaed on in specific places. Like, it's really laid on thick here and there. And I loved the moments where Robert De Niro and the baby had devil eyes. I loved them both. And I kind of thought, like, looking back, I was like, did the baby cheapen it a bit? Like, did that suck? And I was like, no, that was actually fucking great. Like, it was a really cool little addition there. De Niro as the devil in that moment when he has the crazy contacts in is genuinely frightening, I think.
I think the egg scene is genuinely frightening as well. Just like watching a man slowly peel and eat an egg.
Yeah.
Why is this so fucking menacing?
Yeah, especially with those nails. Like, oy, oy, oy. The nails are so uncomfortable, the whole film. There's something about that perfect pointed manicured nails on Robert De Niro that is so upsetting.
His whole, like, all of his mannerisms and everything, they're all so like friendly and nice and dainty. Like I think I read that he's like doing an impression of Martin Scorsese.
Really? Oh, that's interesting.
So like he's doing like the sort of gestures, hand movements and stuff that Martin Scorsese does, and he's sort of
Yeah.
talking with a similar lilt to Martin Scorsese.
Well, that's part of the genius of the portrayal of the devil, I think, is that he plays him just like a pretty normal man with a few very interesting physical affectations that start you thinking, this guy's something he's not saying he is. But he's very careful of things like manners. He's very well spoken, but he's not over the top like Dracula, well spoken and courteous and cordial. He's
Yeah.
interestingly so. You do and you don't suspect, and then when you find out he's the devil, you're like, well, fuck, of course he is. That's exactly what the devil would be like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
And I also love like some of the little tiny little bits of like slight against Christianity. Like he shares his building with like this obviously grifty church that are just trying to grift people out of money. It's sort of implied that somehow he made this guy shoot himself in the beginning. We don't get to see Winesap die, which is a shame.
Yeah.
In the Fangoria article, I guess they shot that because there's a photo of the director Alan Parker sitting next to Winesap's like decapitated body with blood everywhere and a fan behind them. So I guess they shot that, but they decided not to put it in the movie, which is a shame.
Yeah, it feels like a movie where there was a lot cut, not in the sense that this like the flow is ruined or anything like that. There's just so much happening and so many things to link together. It does feel a little bit like there's some choppage here and there.
When I first watched this and I saw that big pot of gumbo, I was like, it's too hot. Turn the heat down, guys.
And then you were like, oh, perfect temperature for boiling a human man. Brilliant. I tell you, my favorite scene in this movie is the Coney Island beach scene. Just magic noir. Like that could be pulled out of any classic noir movie. It was so perfect. The sort of, in a lot of noir movies, there's this real sort of offbeat humor. It always makes me think of stuff like, Pulp obviously does this really well, a little bit more slapstick maybe. But it's always strange objects in strange places, inappropriate behavior at inappropriate times, strange language, everything feeling slightly otherworldly. And when he gets that fucking clip-on nose protector, it just rockets into silliness that works really well. Do you think that's a nod to Chinatown in any way? Or is it its own sort of thing?
I think it's a nod to the same things that Chinatown is nodding to.
Yeah.
I love... Do you know like that scene in like Law and Order or whatever when they go and interview the first guy, and he's just like a working man, and he doesn't stop doing his job while he's being interviewed by fucking Christopher Maloney.
Yeah, he's just like drilling holes in something on a production line, or he's like a mechanic or something,
moving boxes out of the back of a van, or
talking
whatever.
the whole time.
Like I love that, but I feel like that is a build on the same trope of like the woman standing in the sea. And like, she's not going to stop standing in the sea. She's just going to have this conversation while she's standing in the sea.
She's soaking her varicose veins, and her husband is scratching at his crabs. They're not going to stop doing that for you, bud.
The more I think about it, the more I love that scene. I love how Coney Island looks exactly the same.
Yeah, but it's magic because you don't for a second question the time period of this movie. The whole movie is so perfectly in its little place, time-wise. Coney Island is a magical little place, but just to place a scene like this in that specific setting and have it look so perfect. I really felt like I was there. And you don't often feel like that with really iconic real life, locales in movies, do you? Sometimes you feel like, oh, they've done a pretty good job of recreating this fucking whatever. But that just felt like, wow, we're there. It felt like, the Warriors, all the classic shit that you see at Coney Island, it felt exactly right. Like
one of the fundamental things that this movie gets completely right is that it's set in 1955, but it's not like, here's all this 50s stuff.
Yep.
It's like, this is all stuff that we sourced that's older than 1955 because not everything is going to be
Exactly. Not everything is like straight off the fucking production line out into the street, 1955 fucking price tag on it. You're 100% right. I agree. It's grimy in all the right ways. And people aren't acting in that over the top, like, oh, I'm a flapper. Wow, check it out. Like, everyone's just kind of doing their thing in this like timeless movie performance vibe, which I think is really, really important to the whole like believability of the storyline and the places. It makes that transition as well from New York to Louisiana really easy to swallow. The fact that they don't do this like, now we're in the backwoods bayou, it doesn't do this like stupid fucking transition that just tries to like make it really over the top that you've gone from the big city to the backwoods or whatever. It's all the fucking backwoods. It's all the jungle. You know, this is war. Like the whole fucking thing. Just does it really subtly, really smoothly. It's not a hammy movie. I don't think it leans too hard into genre. I think it just fucking exists in a really cool little bleed between horror, thriller, period, noir, like all of it just smooth.
I completely agree. I think, like, obviously we've seen 1950s New York on screen 1,000 times, but we've never seen, or maybe not never, but we rarely see the equivalent time period New Orleans. It's really clever to, like, I mean, it's set in New York because the book's set in New York, and because that's where, you know, noir detective fiction is set. It's there, or LA or Chicago or whatever. It's never like fucking
Cleveland,
Antarctica or Cleveland or whatever.
Yeah, well, it kind of is now. True Detective. But yeah.
Well, yeah.
Was that Alaska?
I think that is Alaska. But yeah, I think that's like the influence of like Nordic noir is like, hey, let's make it fucking cold instead of let's make it really hot. But like setting it in New York, it means that like it really hammers on the frame of reference that you already have from like seeing noir films and reading noir fiction and playing noir video games or whatever. So then when you go to a place that you haven't really seen before, you're already in the mindset that you're in that time period. So it doesn't matter. Like, I have no idea how accurate the portrayal of New Orleans is here. It doesn't seem massively different to how New Orleans is presented in film now. It could be massively anachronistic, but because they've started off in New York and made it feel so real that it doesn't even matter how real New Orleans is.
Yeah, I mean,
or maybe it's just that New Orleans hasn't changed. Really.
Yeah, more than anything, I just like how it's presented in this film. You sort of put in a position where the film works so well, you don't really care if it's accurate or if it's doing justice to, you know, the culture and the people. Maybe it is, you know, laying it on a bit thick, and maybe it is, you know, being a little bit stereotypical, but you just enjoy being there so much. You're just entertained. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, the movie just creates this sense of place that feels totally believable and feels inhabitable for the 2 hours that you're in there. You know, that's a fucking triumph. You don't get that much nowadays, so I'm into that big time. I do think a huge part of that is that beautiful marriage of great performances, pretty fucking strong and labyrinthine mystery, and just beautiful visuals. I think it's shot really well. It's a little bit of its time, but I don't mind that at all. I like the late 80s.
We've talked before about the 80s obsession with the 50s, and this film is more of that, but this is one of the better ones, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. It doesn't look cheap, and a lot of these fucking movies look cheap as piss. This feels like they've put the right amount of money into it to make the movie they made. It doesn't feel... I love the sort of all-star feel of the cast, even though it's a really small cast. Just everyone's bringing top-notch performances and taking the material really seriously, which I love.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously Lisa Bonet had a career after this, but I feel like she should have been a huge, huge movie star.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's unfathomable to me that she's not, you know, one of the biggest names in Hollywood. Like, such a natural performer. She's obviously, like, incredibly beautiful, but she's just so easy on screen. Like, literally just flowing through every performance I've ever seen her in. She's fantastic.
Obviously, she is incredibly beautiful, but she's never posed like she's sexy. It just always seems so effortless. Like, she's just there, and it just happens to be that she's the most beautiful woman in the world in this movie.
Yeah, I think this movie's clever in that way with her, though, because I think looking back, we are sort of meant to look at her as a slightly forbidden fruit. You know, she does say that she's 17. And then it does turn out that she's his fucking daughter. And when you look back, a lot of the shots are like, oh, okay, maybe that is him being a bit pervy. Okay, maybe he shouldn't be fucking this 17-year-old girl. Oh, maybe you shouldn't be fucking your daughter. It's reframed a little bit when you look at it retroactively.
Yeah, I think maybe the phrase, maybe we shouldn't be fucking this 17-year-old girl is words to live by.
Yeah. Where's the 50s? You know, it's fucking, you fuck who you fuck. I don't know what the rules were in the 50s, but this movie has led me to believe it's not that big of a deal. So... again, I think she's portrayed in this movie by the way that she's shot, the way that she acts. It's obviously all very, very conscious. She's obviously very sexy, but I actually think looking back, you're supposed to feel bad about finding her attractive, obviously.
That's what I mean, because like like I say, she's never shot in a way where it's like, hey, look how fucking sexy she
there's
is.
no, like,
it's always like, She sits like a child, and she looks like a child, and she, when she's not cutting a chicken's throat open and spraying the blood all over her and writhing around on top of a dude, like she just is giving this whole vibe of like complete innocence.
Do you think so? I didn't really get the innocence. I always had a kind of young but sinister feeling.
Yeah, maybe not innocent, maybe more naive. Like she's playing it. Like I don't think she is naive. I think she's like portraying herself as being naive, and it's all part of the plot to ensnare.
Yeah, for sure.
Harry Angel.
She's doing a bit of a rube act. I think she thinks that he's going to
Yeah.
look at her as like a backwards teenager, and in reality, she's in possession of enormous fucking power and knowledge and influence, and that's cool as shit. She does a great 180 on him.
This movie also has a really good sandwich in the morgue moment where he lights a match on the dead guy's shoe.
Fucking
Love that.
ladle upon ladle of noir perfection there. That was just, I watched that and I was like, Jamie's applauding right now. I can tell. It's perfect noir. Absolute peak noir.
I love it so much. Obviously, we've talked a lot about like that sandwich in the morgue type situation. But like, it's a bit odd in this because obviously he is pretty freaked out when he sees other dead people, just not that one.
Yeah.
I think, is it a difference between murder and suicide? Perceived suicide?
Yeah, I also think he doesn't give a shit about that doctor. He treats him roughest out of everyone. Yeah. And I think that gives us a cool little insight into the character. You know, Harry Angel isn't a fucking angel at this point, and he is not above really fucking taking advantage of someone in a rough position. You know, he's not above locking a heroin addicted, withdrawing, strung out doctor, locking him in a room. You know, he's pretty fucking mean when push comes to shove, and he will bully people, which, you know, isn't necessarily a noir trope. You know, your hero detective isn't always perfect, is very rarely perfect, but is rarely like a mean bully who will, you know, exploit people further down the food chain. They'll talk a big game and they'll do, you know, occasionally underhanded shit. But like, that was pretty dark. And the guy does ultimately blow his fucking, well, no, he doesn't. Obviously, he kills him, but we're led to believe he blows his head off. And we're like, wow, rough move there, Angel.
Obviously, Chandler's detectives or like leads are not like that. But Mike Hammer, like Mickey Spillane's like guy, is a rough and tumble, like Bud from LA Confidential type character, which is why LA Confidential works so well. It's because it's both of them and you put them together.
Yeah. But there's always like a streak of empowered morality there. Do you know what I mean? And normally it's like I'll stick up for the strung out doctor, or, you know, I'll make him a cup of coffee before I press him really fucking hard. But nope, he just locks him in a fucking room and he's like, you'll get your shit when you tell me what I want to know. I thought that was great.
Mickey Rourke plays it all so clever. Like we said, like he's obviously tough and he's street smart and he's like got that sort of frenetic Columbo nervous energy. Yeah. That's all going on at the same time. And like that's not who he is. That's not Mickey Rourke.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Mickey Rourke is a fucking arrogant, straight back kind of guy.
Yeah, undermining your own hotness in that way. It's a pretty, for me, it's like a top tier performance talent. You know, somebody like Clooney does it quite well. You sort of forget how incredibly handsome George Clooney is when he's playing someone who kind of sucks. I think, you know, your Brad Pitts of the world do a pretty good job of that. But when you're able to still be fucking like one of the most famous, recognizable faces in the world, but you're able to convince people you're kind of a piece of shit and you're not that big of a deal, I think that's pretty incredible.
I buy it less with Clooney.
Yeah.
I don't
think he's ever had a proper chance. Like, he was too famous too soon and too gorgeous the whole fucking time, including now. But I do think he pulls it off.
I think he's not
a
good enough actor.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that's.
I do love Clooney's
the rub.
Comedic chops. Like, people don't give him enough credit for his work at either end of the spectrum, I think.
Yeah, I think with Clooney, for example, he's not giving us like horrible, disheveled, crinkled up like man vibes. It's more buffoon.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So like he's playing off his handsomeness by like being a huge fucking himbo or whatever, rather than being actively horrible.
Yeah, I hear you. Do you ever read any Charles Willeford? You know, those
I don't
great,
think I have.
Charles Willeford does a great series of detective novels about a detective called Hoke Mosley, who is a real piece of shit. Really good fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll check those out.
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of this. I'll post you some books. All right, here's a question for you. Do you think Robert De Niro has had a fun career? Do you think he's enjoyed himself?
No.
Fuck.
I think he takes himself too seriously, and the work is good because of that. But
Right.
like I read in this piece in Fangoria from around the time of the making of the movie that like he was not interested in taking the role. Basically, like Alan Parker really wanted De Niro for Louis Cypher.
Oh, interesting.
Cypher, yeah.
He specifically.
And
Right, okay.
yeah, he specifically wanted Robert De Niro, and he'd spoke to Robert De Niro about it, and he was like, well, yeah, maybe. And then it took him basically having to sit down with him, go over the script like word by word, and also walk him through like the locations.
Wow.
Like, this is where we're going to shoot. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to dress you. This is what you're going to say. This is how you're going to deliver these lines. For him to be like, okay, I will be in your movie for 3 minutes. Do you know what I mean?
It's an enormous investment, right?
Yeah. I mean, it fucking pays off, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I guess like I just see so much playfulness in this guy's career. You know, he takes on obviously some of the most like powerhouse cinematic roles in the history of fucking movies, sure. But then he's in Meet the Fockers. And then he's kind of silly and stuff like this at times. And he brings a little bit of levity and clever humor to so many roles. I know nothing about the guy. And I'm just starting to suspect maybe he's having a fucking blast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't picture him having fun. Even in like Meet the Fockers, I don't see him having fun.
Yeah, I mean, he's
I have
the
nipples.
serious
Can you
character,
milk
know?
me? Like it doesn't. Like I think it's fun just to hear him say that. I think we're having fun at his expense.
Yeah,
He's Pagliacci. Like
yeah. I don't know. Part of me thinks they cut and he just pisses himself laughing at that. Do you know what I mean? Like, he knows how funny he's being. He knows how much fun he's having. He knows how much he's playing on his serious reputation and the fact that he's been painted to be this incredibly serious actor. Yeah, I don't know. I'm in two minds. I just get such a sense of mischief from him in this movie that I think there has to be this conscious love of what he does and there has to be a relish of it. And I just feel like when he's funny, they must cut and he must be like, like really enjoy it. He seems like he's really enjoying himself in this movie.
I see that, but I don't think he's ever really enjoyed himself ever.
Or De Niro.
He's so self-serious and takes it all so seriously
Yeah.
that even when I think he's just a really good actor,
Yeah.
so it looks like he's having fun.
When maybe
When
he's
the script-
in fact not.
When the script calls for him to be having fun, he's having fun. And then as soon as Alan Parker yells cut, he puts his face back into neutral mode and
Storms
goes
off.
about his day.
Yeah. I'd like to see all the cutscenes from Analyze That in order to confirm or deny this theory about whether Robert De Niro has ever had fun. What does he do when he's not shooting? The guy's such a fucking mystery to me. Like, can you picture Robert De Niro like windsurfing? Well, he's got to have some kind of hobby, you know? What does he do?
I don't. His hobby is to whinge about politics, which is all of our hobbies.
Oh,
but-
okay. This is one of those Hollywood politics guys. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Whatever. Well, fuck that. Let's not even go there. Do you think him and Billy Crystal are really very good friends?
Well, I know that him and Mickey Rourke are not very good friends.
Okay. What did they fall out over?
Robert De Niro wouldn't talk to him on set
Wow.
because he felt that it would ruin the vibe. This is, part of the not having any fun ever.
Very method. Got to respect the craft.
And Mickey Rourke took it very personally.
Which is
And-
weird because he's historically been kind of a method guy here and there.
Yeah. But it's still going on now. I think like even quite recently in an interview, Mickey Rourke said something shitty about Robert De Niro about the making of this movie.
Fair enough.
Apparently, Robert De Niro blocked Mickey Rourke from getting a role in The Irishman.
Oh, lucky save. Did you a favor
Yeah.
there, Mickey? You should be singing his praises.
I mean, maybe Mickey Rourke is in it. Nobody got past hour 4, right?
Yeah. So what do you think about the fact that this is directed out of left field from the middle of nowhere by Alan Parker? Bizarre.
Well, I mean, Alan Parker has some form in directing like off the wall stuff, I think.
Like Fame.
Like, sure, but
That's about as
also
mainstream as it gets, right? Fucking The Commitments.
the
Angela's
commitments.
Ashes.
The
Jeez.
commitments is obviously a movie that becomes mainstream, but it doesn't feel like a mainstream movie when you watch it. I think
Yeah,
it
it's almost
feels
like
like
it becomes British canon at some point.
yeah,
Like, yeah, I don't know. It just feels out of place in his wee catalogue.
yeah. I know what you mean. He directed fucking Bugsy Malone.
Yeah, but also Mississippi Burning. The guy is all over the place. Like, pick a fucking lane, kid.
Yeah, this is an absolute like sweaty double feature as well with Mississippi Burning, which is a banger of a movie. I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah. Put those fuckers together for a hot night in for sure, and then
Yeah,
just get real drunk and watch Chinatown. That's a top noir night. Just do it.
yeah.
Sort yourself out.
Oh, movies, man. I like them, and especially this one.
Good. I mean, I am surprised to hear this ranks so highly for you, I got to say. But then when you actually break it down, it's got lots of occult stuff. It's got the devil.
Yeah.
It's got some outstanding performances. It's chock full of, dark imagery and bleakness and fun and chickens. So what is there that Jamie doesn't love about this movie? Is there anything you don't love?
I'm not sure that I fully buy into the resolution of the mystery.
Right.
I'm not sure that you sold your soul to the devil, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are superstar crooner Johnny Favorite who sold their soul to the devil for a piece of fame.
Yep.
I am not sure that becoming a different person and not being you anymore is a worthwhile way of getting out of it, because you might as well be dead. What happens is it means that you don't go to hell. But like, is that the like?
I
Wouldn't you
just saw
do
it as
that?
like he's hiding from the devil, so he never has to pay.
Like, yeah, but
Like hiding
why
from it,
wouldn't?
like skip town, get a new face, hide from your
But
debtors.
why wouldn't you do that much later in life when you've experienced much more fame and much more riches and much more life?
Well, because it goes wrong, doesn't it? He gets fucked up in the war. That's the part that I don't believe, is that he would go to war. The guy sounds like a complete piece of shit. He's finally got everything he
Yeah.
wants. He's famous. He's going to dodge that draft, surely. He's not fucking Elvis. Like,
Yeah, he's got bone spurs or whatever. Like,
yeah, like he's 4F as fuck. Get that guy out of that tank or whatever the fuck. That's the only bit I didn't buy, is like nobody explains why he went to war, because we don't know anything about him either. He feels so abstract. Johnny Favorite, Mr. Liebling, is just kind of, we get little bits, little tidbits, but we never really know who he is, and we're sort of led to believe that he's a famous crooner who goes to war, comes back fucked up, is whisked away by his debutante chick and her dad, and turned into another man in an occult ceremony of some kind.
isn't the vibe that they do the switcheroo, the Harry Angel switcheroo, before? I think that that's what happens. I think that happens before he goes to war.
Oh, and then he
gets-
comes back fucked up from the war,
Yeah, but
gets
he's
injured, whatever.
and has amnesia or whatever, and then begins or picks his life back up as Harry Angel. But like, he
Right.
just doesn't.
So wait, are
I-
we saying he's
I lo-
Harry Angel when they get him out of the hospital?
Yeah,
What?
but his face is wrapped in bandages because he's shell shocked or whatever. So they've never seen Harry Angel face. None of it really. That's the part that doesn't make sense. And like, because it's a noir mystery, you can sort of gloss over that, I think.
Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable not fully understanding it. I did like read a bit and try and wrap my head around what actually happens in the movie, because I like an established timeline when I'm told
Yeah.
that there's a resolution, when they're right, okay, this does follow a linear plot. There is stuff happening here behind the scenes. Here's what it is. But I'll be the first one to admit I still don't fully understand the timeline or how it happens. And I do think that's fine. But I do also think for a movie like this to be successful, i.e., to resonate with its audience, not like financially or whatever, but to reach and resonate with its audience, it does need to explain slightly more of how this shit goes down. And I'm not one to beg for more exposition normally. I just feel like I should have walked away from a movie this mainstream with the knowledge that things had happened in a certain order.
I think it does establish that timeline quite well, and it does give you everything that you need to understand the ending all the way through. Like, it does breadcrumb it out, but I do think that I just don't really buy that
Yeah.
as a solution or as a resolution or as a big rubber stamp solved on the mystery. Like, I just don't know if I actually buy that. But I don't think it's at odds with what the film is presenting you with. I just think it doesn't really work for me.
Yeah. I like that Johnny Favorite is basically a phantom. We never see him.
Yeah.
We never see his mannerisms, or we never see him perform. We never know anything about him. We're just told about him. But part of me wonders if some flashback scenes of Johnny Favorite might have been cool, just to flesh out the motivation a bit, so we understand at the end, what his fucking deal was. But that being said, fuck it. I actually really like them singing his songs in the sea at Coney Island and stuff like that. I think that's way cooler.
Yeah, I mean, you see him once, don't you, in a photograph, and that's it.
That's it. Yeah,
photograph with Toot Sweet.
Good old Toots. Man, he
Spider.
died a rough death.
Yeah, he did. Glad that we don't have to see that one.
Yeah, choke on your own dick much? Fucking heck.
I wouldn't like to die that way.
What does it say about me that I kind of would?
It would take me a while to choke. You ever got a peanut stuck in your throat?
It'll get the job done, buddy. Listen, it'll fucking get the job done. My brother once choked on a piece of mozzarella.
Okay.
And it was so fucking long. My dad just reached into his mouth and started pulling it out, and it was like just unspooling like a mile of white ribbon out of his fucking gob, and it had gone all the way down into his belly. My dad had like half his fucking arm in this kid's mouth, just pulling this mozzarella out. It was unbelievable what came out of this kid's esophagus.
That's not a mozzarella, that's a tapeworm, Sam.
Yeah, wrestling a tapeworm. Yeah, food standards in Naples. Say no more. All right, well, let's wrap this fucker up.
Okay, let's take a break. We'll come back and wrap her up.
All right.
Will you give it up, man? Nobody's out there. We're alone. Oh no, there's somebody out there. I'm picking up all this crosstalk.
Okay, Sam.
Yo.
I'm ready to wrap up. Are you ready to wrap up?
I'm ready to wrap up. I think I almost understand what happens in this movie, so I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Why don't you go first? Because everybody knows now, at this point, this is one of my faves.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to gush for a few minutes after you.
Yep.
You go ahead.
I'm a big thriller fan, love noir, huge genre guy when it comes to this kind of stuff. We were talking earlier about how a film can be your whole personality, and I've just remembered there was a period in my life where I owned a brown suit and would just wear it like it was normal. And I think that might have coincided with my noir phase. I'm pretty sure I just walked around in a brown suit for a while.
Was it like baggy pants, like 50s style?
Yes. Yeah, very
nice.
Zootish in its... I think it was brown, but it had like almost like a tan pinstripe thing going on as well. Fucking hell. Anyway, that's how much I love noir. So as a fan of that genre, I think I went into this with no expectations that it was going to be good. So I feel like the fact that it was great hit home double. The Mickey Rourke performance alone is enough to put this movie really fucking high in terms of rankings. And when you spoon in some menacing Robert De Niro as the devil, I'm having a great time. So I enjoyed it as a noir movie. I enjoyed it as a horror movie. I enjoyed the experience of watching it front to back. I was not bored. Definitely didn't drift at all. Just real punchy, quick, stylish, clever filmmaking with lots of very satisfying action sequences, resolutions, Mickey Rourke running, all of it really, really cool. I'm going to give it like a 7.5 boiled men in pots of gumbo out of 10. But I feel like I'm rating this movie less as like a trashy horror flick that we love that nobody else loves. And I'm rating it more as like a real movie, like a real boy.
I sort of had told you before going into this that this is real movie territory. Obviously, it's Mickey Rourke and Robert De Niro. They're not going to be in, Street Trash 2, The Melting.
I really hope they are. No,
yeah,
but you did also caveat that by saying, like Wolfen. I was like, oh, okay, so not really a real movie.
But Wolfen is a real movie. It feels like a real movie. It has Albert Finney giving an actual performance. But
it's not like Once Upon a Time in America or some shit. It's whereas this feels like for a late 80s horror thriller that's tipping its hat to noir, it feels like it's doing so very seriously. It's aiming for some kind of box office success, and it's not compromising in its its vision or its execution. In that way, it feels like a real boy. So I'm giving it that rating, which is obviously a lot lower than Killer Clowns from Outer Space, for example. But I'm rating them in different universes essentially. So yeah, I had bags of fun with this. It was really enjoyable. Probably would watch again, which is kind of rare, and would recommend to anyone who enjoys any kind of taut mystery thriller, which is something I don't think I've said on the podcast so far. So yeah, 7.5 old gumbo Creole heads out of 10.
I think I would be really interested in hearing you or speaking to you after you watch this again, because like once you know what's happening,
Yeah.
once you know where we're ending up, you're then looking for those breadcrumbs in a different way to how you've seen the misdirection that you've already gone through. So then you're trying to look at the magician's actual hands.
Yeah, when he introduces himself as Louis Cypher, for example, I might be like, Lucifer, that's the devil, not fucking, ooh, interesting name. Way to make us feel so dumb.
It's so funny. And like, I've had that exact experience several times. It's magic how media can do that. Like, it's saying the words to you. It's saying, hello, my name is I am a pedophile. And then, like, turns out at the end of the movie, he's a pedophile. Like,
I never saw it coming. It just came out of nowhere. Yeah, it's so clever. There's going to be some smart asses out there who are like, oh, Louis Cypher, oh, the devil, Lucifer, Mephistopheles, the Lord of Darkness. But, like, fuck you, kid. Lean back a little, okay? Lighten up. Mr. I am a pedophile. Oh, fuck. Got me good.
So
anyway.
I think 7.5 out of 10 is a perfectly respectable rating for this movie.
Yeah.
I'm going to rate it a little higher because, I'm me. My sum up, I think this is literally the best neo-noir horror movie that anyone's ever going to make.
Yeah, out of all, like, 4 of them, it's pretty good.
Yeah. I love how serious it takes itself, but I also love how fun. Like, I love the sense of fun that sort of permeates through it. Like we've said, the performances from the 3 sort of main characters are incredible. Everyone else is just having big foghorn leghorn times, and that's also a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think nobody has ever sold anguished screaming to me like Mickey Rourke as he starts to realize that he is Johnny Favorite. It is amazing.
Yeah,
and
he screamed raw at that point, right? He's just got no voice left. Like,
fucking amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
We've seen a lot of people scream in a lot of movies.
Oh yeah.
I've never felt it the way that you feel it when you watch Angel Heart. Like, because Mickey Rourke is so famous and has been in a lot of movies, and I love a lot of them. Sometimes you're watching a movie and you're like, oh, there's Mickey Rourke. He's pretending to be a private detective. But like, he's such a good actor that like he stops doing that at some point.
Yeah.
And Robert De Niro never really does that. And I think that's because Robert De Niro has no outside movie personality.
Okay.
As
I'm going to find this Robert De Niro windsurfing footage and prove you wrong. But yeah, carry on.
If he's windsurfing, he's doing it with a very straight face. Like,
guaranteed.
Yes, windsurfing.
I love the idea of him just saying the thing he's doing whenever he's doing it.
There's a tiny little moment as well when, like, we get a little insight into how evil he is, where Harry Angel is talking about all of the murders that have happened.
Yeah.
And he goes, murders.
Yeah. Interesting.
Like, yeah. But it's sort of, that speaks to me. That arouses me.
It's almost a bit like murders, sure, for breakfast. Like, so blasé almost.
It's a great movie. And like I say, the mystery fully brings you along with it, tips its hands in just the right way, misdirects you in all the best ways until you're at the end and it resolves in front of you, and then you think you're an idiot. Like, you just kick yourself in the head because it's like it's all so obvious.
Yeah, that's such a rewarding experience for an audience.
Yeah.
Just being humbled by a plot and just being like, fuck, obviously, that's great. It'll probably piss some people off. Like, some people who think they're really smart will probably be bummed. But I love that when a movie doesn't just make you feel something and show you something beautiful and take you on a journey, but it also has a real visceral impact on you when it ends, and you're like, what the fuck? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's really, really, really fun.
There's a load of like fun tropes in this, like we've said, like the sandwich in the morgue, like the lighting the match on the guy's shoe, get the guy getting thrown out into the trash cans.
Yeah.
Like I find that so satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
And like obviously we've seen that in a million movies, and I reckon at about 1987 was when they started to realize that this was a bit of a trope, and we should maybe, if we're gonna do this, make it a goof, kind of like the plate glass window in The Hidden.
Sure.
But like they absolutely do not make it a goof. It's just
No.
like this is played straight, throw them out into the trash,
Mm-hmm.
and
And shot from quite far away. It felt really
Yeah.
well shot. It was almost like a little vignette in and of itself. And he overshoots the all the garbage and hits the pavement, and it looks really real. But like you said, it's dripping with noir.
Yeah, I mean, I think the movie is shot beautifully, start to finish. I mean, beautifully maybe isn't the right word. It's lit perfectly. It's like the movie's not in black and white, but it might as well be.
Yeah.
Like it's sharp lights versus dark darks,
Mm.
and like everybody's lit from like one huge beaming light source, so they all get like a wave of like bright light on one side of their face, and everything else is cast into darkness, and it's incredible. There are no shades of grey.
There are really beautiful shots as well. You're right. The red window in all the the other windows just looks stunning. Loads of those great sort of delirious, seeing eye moments. All the fan stuff, really, really beautiful and very consistent. There's no like massive wild departures from style. It's all pretty bang on.
Yeah, I think it's just fucking great.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I'm going to give it 14 glowing De Niro eyes out of 15.
Nice. Those eyes are pretty peak. I love that shit. Very Danny Filth.
Yeah. This movie makes me want to drink a Two Sisters cocktail. I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, let's fucking stick the recipe for that on socials.
Well, we'll enjoy a Two Sisters cocktail with everybody that follows us on our social media at FT Horror Show across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
Well played.
Two Sisters cocktails to everybody that writes a review and votes us 5 stars on whatever you're listening to this on right now.
Yep. And when you've had your Two Sisters cocktail and you get up to do your blues jam, you can sing all about the Final Transmission podcast to the whole audience. Tell all your friends. Bring them back for more. We'll have a lock-in and potentially have our dicks chopped off and stuffed into our mouths.
Yeah. Shotgun, you go first.
Guaranteed. That's the way it's going to go. I'll be first in line.
I think I'd rather it be someone else's dick. The idea of it being my own dick makes it worse.
No,
somehow.
I want
Do you know
mine.
what I mean?
I want mine. I know mine. I know what I'm getting. All right, let's call it a day. Thanks for listening to Final Transmission. Thanks for hanging out with us. This has been fun. We'll see you next week. Fucking 7 days. See you there, kid.
Laters, guys. Have a good one. Hopefully you're not a different person that you thought was dead.
Hopefully you're not drowning in your own dick.